talk Eli Manning. He retired, and, nobody can have a normal debate. It really is this black and white. You either think he's a Hall of Famer or you don't. I don't want to spend more. You got 5 minutes on this topic. Not just you, because I don't want you to go off on it for 5 minutes, because I don't care. But everybody has to debate the Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame discussion. Yes. Yay or nay for you,
Well, that
Sam?
happens. Any player retires, it's like, does he belong in the Hall of Fame or not, right? So let's start off by saying Eli had a really great career he should be proud of. Guy who's won 2 Super Bowl rings. He beat, the unbeatable Patriots that year. Mm-hmm. He beat the Patriots again. He is responsible for 2 incredible Super Bowl moments. The pass down the sideline to Manningham is one of the best passes in Super Bowl history. The helmet catch, obviously, is one of the best plays in Super Bowl history, or one of the most memorable plays in Super Bowl history. So he ended, all right, what is a fairly small Super Bowl drought by NFL standards? The Chiefs just got back for the first time in 50 years, for example. There were bigger droughts out there than the Giants were dealing with.
He helped bring 2 championships to the Giants.
He ended their drought.
Along with the defense.
Won a couple of championships. And he ends his career, the start streak, 15 years of play. He had a really nice career, right? Absolutely belongs in the New York Giants Ring of Fame or whatever it is they do.
And the Giants should be very happy with the draft day trade that they made to get Eli Manning. They got 2 championships out of it and a whole lot of availability.
Yeah. So he absolutely belongs in the Giants Ring of Honor or whatever it is, whatever their equivalent is.
Ring of the very good.
The debate as to whether he then belongs in the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I think is more complicated. And I don't even know. So I'm not even sure that I have an answer on this, like a take. I don't know if I want him in or not. What I've been arguing with people about for the last 24 hours at this point is let's just at least accept what the debate is, right? So the debate for Eli Manning is essentially 2 incredible Super Bowl runs where he was instrumental in winning those games. Now, he wasn't alone. The defense showed up and had huge game plans, etc. But his 2011 run in particular was absolutely incredible. He knocked off some big teams on the way, both seasons, and he was a huge part of those wins, whether it's the helmet catch, the Manningham pass, all those kinds of things. So the question is, are 2 incredible postseason runs that made the Giants get 2 Super Bowl rings, which he was a huge part of in a way that is not true for some other quarterbacks who got their run and made a ring. They basically were like Trent Dilfer, right? Nice as he is, everybody accepts that Trent Dilfer was a passenger on that team. If Trent Dilfer did that twice, he would just be twice the passenger.
It's not all the same, though. I mean, Dilfer legitimately completed 36 passes in 4 games.
Right. But the point is, so that's
9
what I'm saying,
per game.
Right? He was legitimately a passenger on those teams. Eli Manning was not on his Super Bowl runs, right? So though it is the fact that he did that twice enough to put him in the Hall of Fame, because outside of those seasons, he was basically an average quarterback for 12 years. What's really interesting is the timing of those Super Bowls completely changed everything about his career, because actually his start was kind of rough. And if he doesn't go on that run,
there are questions about him and his future in New York. Right?
If he does not go on that run at the beginning, the first one, and win the Super Bowl, I think he's going to have some competition the next year for that starting job, and everything changes at that point, right? And then the second time, once you win the second one, that buys him the back 5 years of his career where he was below average. Like, he had 5 years to basically play kind of bad, and nobody questioned it because he'd won them 2 Super Bowl championships and his credentials are known.
And the reality of Eli's career is 2011, that start to finish was a fantastic season. He was great. He was great under pressure. He was excellent on the Super Bowl run. He was a catalyst more than a passenger, for sure, there. Mm-hmm. In 2007, he was okay during the regular season, if at best. Early in the playoffs, just okay. And then he played well in the Super Bowl game itself. Even though they scored 21 points or whatever it was, he played okay. 2011, he was fantastic. Yes. 2012, he was really good.
By far his best season, 2011.
Yeah, and he did a really nice job running that offense and all that stuff. So,
the one argument...
I've heard people compare him to like Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner's got, a Super Bowl and made it a few other times, and it's like, no, but Kurt Warner's 3 best seasons are better than anything Eli ever put. As good as Eli was in 2011, Kurt Warner might have 4 seasons better than that.
There's some really interesting comps, right? Kurt Warner is a fascinating one because his career, like his overall body of work, is much smaller than most other quarterbacks that are in there, right? And he's got the two Super Bowl appearances, so there's parallels, right? But
3 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win.
Sorry, 3 appearances, 1 win. But he, as you say, his peak was way better than anything Eli did, and he did it for longer. Plus, the fact that he took multiple different teams to the Super Bowl, I think,
Did it twice.
is noteworthy.
But that part in the middle is that when people were making arguments against Kurt Warner, I understood those too, because the part in the middle, he goes there to start ahead of Eli in 2004, and he could barely even field a snap, and he had a thumb injury, whatever. But he was kind of bad in the middle.
Right. What's the argument that I have no time for is, well, Eli is 7th in passing, all-time passing yards, 7th in touchdowns. Well, of course he is. He played 15 years in the most pass-happy era the league has ever seen. Anybody who did that would have those numbers. Now, if you roll the time back a little bit, when Vinny Testaverde retired, he was 6th in all-time passing yards, 7th in touchdowns, 7th in completions. So it's just a product of playing a long time at any kind of level. Now, I'm not saying that is, I'm not saying you ding him for that. I'm just saying that it's not a positive, right? You multiply average 5 times, 10 times, 15 times. It's just average. It doesn't get any better the more times you multiply it. I have no time for the idea that he compiled himself all the way up to the 7th list in these all-time rankings. Therefore, it's a Hall of Fame resume. His argument is
if you're putting
2
him
iconic Super Bowl runs. The end.
Yeah, if you want to put him in the Hall of Fame, that's the resume.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's
and you just
wrong.
you just have to be honest about that.
Yes.
That's the resume, and there's an actual legitimate discussion to be had. You and Gordon use the phrase, "Well, you can't tell the story of the NFL without Eli Manning," and you can't tell the story of the NFL without Chris Nowinski either.
I've never. A lot of people use that phraseology as the argument. Now, by the way, the Hall of Fame doesn't, and they're the ones that actually decide this thing. Nowhere is that like a criteria for getting in, but it's one that people like to use to talk about it. What I heard somebody say is that Eli would be more a section in the chapter that discusses Brady and
absolutely,
and the dynasty, right?
Right.
As opposed to his own individual chapter,
Yeah, I mean Brady and Belichick have lost like 11 playoff games together, 5 of which have come to the Manning brothers.
Right.
I mean, that's the section, right? I mean, that's...
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Peyton Manning is more deserving of his own section than Eli.
Obviously, but I'm just saying, like, there's a whole story to be around just Eli. There's one about the Manning brothers.
But you can make the argument,
whole rivalry.
Yeah, you could make the argument that Eli doesn't necessarily belong in his own section of the history of the game. He belongs as not a footnote, but a part of somebody else's section. But I think there's a genuine case to be made that those 2 runs, the purpose of this game at the end of the day is to win Super Bowls. And he was instrumental in winning 2 of them in a way other people have not been.
Completely agree.
I think there's a genuine case to be made that alone puts him in the Hall of Fame. But I think people just need to accept that all this compiling of base numbers does not help his case. And when you look at
because Matthew Stafford is going to be
right. I mean, Matt Ryan will pass him in a year and a half, and is it next year? Matt Ryan is pretty close behind, and he's got 4 fewer seasons in the NFL. But if you look at rate numbers or any number that actually requires good play to rack up, he's nowhere near the top 10 all time.
No, he's not.
He's way off. So that is not your argument in getting him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Matt Ryan's a couple years away from passing him.
The other thing that's interesting to me is I know that I differ from a lot of people on this, that I don't believe that durability is something that should get you recognition beyond just, no, that's quite impressive. The guy's lasted a long time.
Oh, durability playing at a high level.
Right. But durability that just lasts you at the level you're in for longer than other people, for a start, I don't think you control that. There's a lot of players out there that have replied to me that were like, you absolutely control that. It's hard work. It's effort. But that's just confirmation bias. It's like, look, all these great players worked really hard. Therefore, if you work really hard, you'll last longer. What about all the great players that worked really hard, broke a hip, and never survived?
There's luck involved. But
you think
also...
Bo Jackson wasn't working his ass off?
No, see, I think that there's something to
I think it's a requisite thing.
You've never played professionally. Come on, man.
I think you need that work ethic to survive a long time, but I don't think having that work ethic is going to give you the longevity.
Yeah, you definitely need some luck with it too.
Right.
Yeah, but playing at a high level for a long time is worth it. Just compiling mediocre stats like Frank Gore and Eli Manning over a long period of time is not impressive.
A lot of people look at his start streak. They're like, okay, but how many? Well, how many of those starts at the back end did he actually deserve to be starting? Like if he was just another quarterback on another team, how far before the end would he have been benched? Because the answer is probably quite a while. And then the other thing is, like, if he's just playing average level for the back end or even below average level for those back years, is the fact that he isn't broken down actually good? I would argue no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't.
He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Probably,
he absolutely will be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know that he doesn't deserve to be in. I wouldn't put him in, but then I wouldn't put in a couple of other people that are already there. So
I think that just you brought up Matt Ryan. I think he's going to be a fascinating debate. If he never gets back to a Super Bowl, he's going to be a guy that finishes his career in the top 5 in passing yards of all time in a dome. And really, a ton of touchdown passes, a ton of...
Stafford as well will be another one.
Yeah, Matt Ryan has a ton of seasons where he was way better than Eli Manning. Like throughout the majority of Matt Ryan's career, he's been better than Eli Manning, right? Outside of 2 seasons. Phillip Rivers, who was drafted the same year as Eli Manning, has been better than Eli Manning for all but a couple seasons of his career.
Rivers will be the really interesting one because I think he's clearly been certainly the better of those 2 quarterbacks. I think you can make the case he's been the best of the 3.
But I already see people debating if you're putting Eli in because, well, they beat the dynasty. Well, Phillip Rivers had a couple opportunities to do that. And Matt Ryan had the biggest opportunity to do that failed, 28-3, and there's a fumble and this and that. Whether it's his fault or not, you could easily compare those things, and then they just look like the regular season stat compilers.
Rivers is like the reverse case. He's like, look, he doesn't have any big moments, right? Because
not at all.
They were almost never able to put a team around him, and when they did, he wasn't able to get it done.
And Ryan's had some exceptional playoff games too.
Yeah. But so Rivers in particular is like the exact opposite case to Eli, because he actually has some phenomenal, consistent, high-level play, but was never had any of the big moments.
The other funny one is Big Ben. In his first year, his first Super Bowl was one of the worst.
Passenger.
I mean, it was one of the worst quarterback performances you'll ever see in a Super Bowl win against Seattle. He had the game winner against Antonio Holmes. He was a really good quarterback by 2008, but he kind of like got them out of the way before he became a really good passing quarterback that put up big numbers in this league after he had the 2 Super Bowls.
That's Antonio Holmes' pass is right up there with the Manningham one in terms of one of the best passes ever.
Yeah,
in Super Bowl
incredible and timely and just awesome. So Big Ben almost like locked himself into the Hall of Fame as long as he just survived the next 10 years and put up numbers, which he did. So
he also transitioned from, legitimate passenger at the start of his career to the reason that offense was so effective the back end of his career. Like he became, one of those high level everything funnels through this guy quarterbacks.
This is one of those things. I've used Brady, Big Ben, and Russell Wilson as 3 guys who early in their career won on teams that were strong with defense and all that stuff, and were seen. I mean, Wilson played well, but he was still seen as a guy like, he only has to throw the ball 25 times a game. Brady was seen as a guy that he's got the defense, he's got the run game and the screen game. And Roethlisberger, I mean, he wasn't even good the first 2 years. He did make big throws. He was just like clutch at the right time type of thing. Those were guys that were seen as game manager types earlier in their career, where then you realize that they could carry a team. And that was the thing where when we always say, like, well, don't look at QB wins, I think there are these examples of players who it's like there's something in there, right? And even if they are game managery at the time, if you unleash them, they could be really good. And those are the 3 examples that always come to mind.
The other thing about the stats that people have to understand, and most people do, but it's worth repeating, that you cannot look at just career numbers and not adjust in some way for era. Like, Manning and Elway have more or less the same passing yards, right, at this point? Those are not the same 57,000 passing yards. You know what I mean?
That part's obnoxious.
Right. But, I mean, we have to put that out there, right? Eli Manning and John Elway have vaguely the same amount of passing yards. They are not in any way, shape, or form the same passing yards. Just think of the rule changes and re-emphasis that have gone on between the two. It is so much easier to pass the ball now than it was in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s. Like, people are ragging on Namath. Like,
all-time passer rating.
You know what you could do to corner or to receivers back in the 60s?
Listen to some of the names on the all-time passer rating leaders. Dak Prescott's 5th.
Everybody now.
Kirk Cousins is 7th.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers 10. Matt Ryan 11. Big Ben 12. Carson Wentz is 14th. Jared Goff is 16th. Derek Carr is 17th. Skip Chad Pennington. Ryan Tannehill is 19th on the all-time passer rating list. And Marcus Mariota is 20th.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's why the Titans made it so far. They have 2 top 20 all-time passer rating guys, and Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota on the same team. How do you stop that?
The all-time passer rating list is basically all of the current NFL quarterbacks and, like, Steve Young.
Andy Dalton, 28th. Alex Smith, 30th. Jameis Winston is number 31 all-time in passer rating. He's better than Otto Graham.
Huh. Yeah.
He's also, who else is he better than? Rich Gannon, Jim Kelly, Mark Brunell. Eli Manning will finish his career with an 84.1 passer rating.
Which is actually terrible now.
Yeah. Which is 0.1 better than Mark Brunell.
Like, the league average now is like 95, isn't it?
90? No, it's like 90.
It's over 90.
89, 90.
Either way, his career is below average in passer rating, which is not ideal in the easiest era to ever pass the ball.
Blake Bortles is 69th.
Huh. Anyway, so that was our 5 minutes.
So I would not put Eli Manning. If I had a vote, I don't think I would give it to him.
I
would
honestly
understand all the arguments. I don't think I would give it to him. I think ultimately you would lean yes, even though you're fighting everybody and trying to say no. You're at least trying to make like the argument the right one.
I'm the guy in the room whose vote is up for grabs. You know, there's somebody in there whose job it is to pitch Eli Manning.
Yeah.
So there'll be a bunch of people out there arguing against him and for him, right? I'm the guy. I'm the swing vote in the Hall of Fame room.
I'd be 75% no with, an open mind for 25%.
You could just about be brought around if somebody came out and knocked the argument out of the park.
With a really good one.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.